Hey everyone, hope you're all doing good. Nice to see you again. Your boy Opossum here. Today's video is going to be on ADHD, or Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. Um, I've had this. There's three. I guess I'll start by explaining a little. There's three different forms of ADHD. One of them was formerly known as ADD, Attention Deficit Disorder. Okay. So it's been a while, but they changed that. It's not ADD anymore. ADD is known as a form of ADHD. So it's kind of uh, just an important thing to remember, that they're kind of the same thing. Um, and people that have ADD normally, I am reading off a book here. I'm not a doctor. I don't know all the exact things. I know from my own experiences. But that's it. But people with ADHD, they don't always have hyperactive problems, or sometimes it's just a form of focusing problems, organization problems. They'll have problems, exhibiting focus on certain tasks or staying on one task. It's not always energy based. It's not always hyperactivity. And that's where the ADD part came in, because a lot of people, they couldn't focus, they couldn't organize, they couldn't. But it's not necessarily that they had. It wasn't necessarily because of energy. Me, as you can tell, energy. There's of course the second known, and that's hyperactive impulsivity, um, ADHD, and that is when you're have high energy, you're constantly moving, you have a hard time sitting, you fidget a lot, you move, you tap, you bite your nails, you know you're constantly moving. Me doing these videos, I sit. That's probably about the longest I sit in a day. A few minutes at a time, I can sit on the couch, like when I'm watching a show or something. I can force myself to sit. But if I do for too long, I get the feeling that I need to use the bathroom. I don't know if anyone else ever has that feeling. It's like phantom pee, I call it, basically. I start feeling like if I sit too long or in the same spot or don't move, I start feeling like I really need to use the bathroom. Even if I go to the bathroom, I won't pee, like, because I don't actually need to use the bathroom. It's just this feeling in my bladder. It makes me feel like I need to use the bathroom. It makes me feel like I need to move. Um, so people with hyperactivity obviously are usually kind of hyper, have a problem sitting, staying still, anything of that sort. Uh, they'll interrupt a lot, which I've had a problem with in my life. People don't understand that, like, I don't mean to do it. People think I'm just being rude, and I'm not a rude guy. I try my hardest, like it, and I actually have to try, because I'm like, my brain is screaming at me like to jump out with words. It's like you see me physically have to, like I almost lurch forward, like I have to stop myself, because I just want to. Anytime you say something that my brain connects to, I just want to start. Oh yeah, blah, and I'll do it, and I'll interrupt people quite often, and they get mad at me sometimes. But no, it's not something I do on purpose. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to interrupt you or jump in on you. It's not that I feel that what you're saying is not important, or what I is saying is more important. I just can't help myself. It's literally like it's a problem. I can't help it. I try. I do my best. So if I've ever done that to you, I know there's specific people I'm thinking of right now, um, that have gotten mad at me for it, even in the last like year, because they didn't really understand. And I tried to explain, but they just didn't get it. And that's, I guess, one thing. ADHD and anxiety and ADD, and they're things that they're commonly used by people, even that don't really have it. People feel a bit anxious and they're like, I have anxiety, or, they feel a bit hypered up. They've had three coffees and an energy drink, and they're like, I have ADHD, I have anxiety. It's like, well, no, not really, but so that's one thing I do want to say. If you're not actually diagnosed, don't self-diagnose yourself. That's a big issue, and and don't push out there that you're something if you're not sure, especially if you're really not sure, right? Because again, that makes it difficult for people like me, because when I tell people I have ADHD or anxiety or things, that they don't take it seriously. They're like, "Oh, ADHD," and they're like, and that then I do things that make them mad, and they don't realize that it's exactly what they were from the disorder. They were just blowing off and thinking that it's nothing. Right? So that's been a problem my whole life because I've explained to people is like I do this because of my ADHD, and oh yeah, I understand. And then 5 minutes later, they're like, "Why are you acting this way?" I'm like, "Well, I kind of just explained it, but you're not really hearing me. But it is what it is. There's always going to be stigmas and kind of blockages for people with sorts of things like that, especially when people don't really understand. Um, so I have what they call combined ADHD. So I exhibit symptoms of hyperactive disorder, impulsivity disorder, and just organizational disorder, or the first one, which was inactivity or inattentiveness. Sorry, not inactivity. I have too much activity. Opposite. So inattentiveness, hyperactiveness, um, just everything under the sun. I deal with it. They call that combined ADHD. I basically have symptoms and core characteristics of every form. So I am hyperactive. I have a problem staying still. I do fidget a lot. I bite my nails a lot. I've always had that problem. People used to think it's because I was nervous, and it's not really nervous. I'm not nervous. I can't help it. If I'm sitting down, I got to be doing something. It drives me insane. I can't sit still if not. Like I said, it makes me need to use the bathroom. People always also never understood that. They're like, you just went to the bathroom, and they think I'm just like lying or making excuses. Even at school, I'd have to go to the bathroom 10 times in a row because they were making me sit at a desk. And they're like, there's no way you have to go to the bathroom this much. And I was like, but I did. Like, I felt like I did at least. Maybe I didn't have to actually use the bathroom. There's been a time or two my teacher would literally follow me to the bathroom, make sure I was going to use the bathroom. But it's like, even then I try, and it's like, sometimes just nothing would come out because I didn't actually have to go to the bathroom. But back then I didn't understand why. I actually thought I had to use the bathroom, I felt like I had to use the bathroom. So what else am I going to think? Also, with my diabetes, that's kind of a thing. High blood sugar, I do have to use the bathroom more than most normal people. So I didn't question it. So people with ADHD can have a really hard time sitting still. They have a hard time with not interrupting people. Hard time organizing sometimes and staying on task. Focusing is a big thing for people with inattentive. Focusing on a task or staying organized, it becomes really difficult because your mind just keeps wanting to jump from this thing to that thing, and I'm bad for that. I explain that actually in my cooking videos. It's hard for me because I got to keep jumping back, like jumping from the videos to the cooking. It's hard for me to focus, but I have to focus on one or the other. It's just like, I try to focus on one thing, but my mind's like bam, 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 bam. So if I give myself 2 or 3 things to focus on, my mind's just going to jump between them. It's not going to focus on one. I have to have one thing to focus on, like predominantly. Focus on that one thing, get through it, and then move on to the next task. If you put even 2 things in front of me, I'm going to bounce back and forth between them, and it's going to take me twice as long to get them done because I'm just boom, 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 right? Or they'll end up both half finished. So that's something I really, when I can multitask good, like I've trained myself to do it pretty well, especially if it's things that don't take long. If I need to do 6 things that you can do quickly, I can do them like nothing. I'm like, bam, right? Because of my hyperactivity, I have the energy and I'd move around like a fucking, excuse my language, but if you've ever seen Hoodwinked, the squirrel on coffee, coffee, that's me all the time. Like a squirrel on crack, 24/7. Some things it helps, some things it hurts. But it's something I've always kind of dealt with, This also, a lot of the times, it brings up having ADHD. It brings up other things in life. It causes people to have depression. It'll cause people to have anxiety and stress. It just comes naturally sometimes. So I am diagnosed with anxiety as well. Some of that probably does also actually stem from the ADHD, though, I believe, but I've been diagnosed with both. So That's the other thing. I'll never talk about something on any of my channels or anything that I don't actually know about. Like I said, I'm not a doctor or anything, but if I am not diagnosed and I have not gone through it, I won't talk about it. I'm not going to talk about stuff that I don't know about. I'm not that ignorant. That would be ignorant and rude of me. That would be just be naive, right? So I'll never talk about something that I don't actually know. Everything in here, I've been diagnosed by an actual doctor or a psychologist, or some professional in that field. But in this case, it's doctors and psychologists. And I'll always give my personal opinion, right? Like, I'll always describe it how I see it as well, because, you know, you can read off a book, you can read from the internet, you can learn anything that I'm telling you. Of course, you can learn online, but sometimes I feel like putting your personal aspect into it is what really makes the difference, right? To help people understand. Because there's people watching these videos that I know, that know me, that'll be like, this is certain things are going to click for them. They're going to remember certain conversations with me or instances or, you know, situations, and they'll be like, oh fuck, and then they're really going to click and understand why I was acting the way I was or doing what I was doing, or, you know, because some of it might not have seemed normal and they're like, the fuck is wrong with you, you know? But I'm like, well, I'm sorry, it's just sometimes I can't help certain things that I do. I do my best. I've been on medication for a while for it. I haven't taken my ADHD medication in a long time because it got outdated and they switched things so often, and the cost was a problem. So I have a lot of health problems, and I'm on so many different medications and stuff, and so it's not all covered. So when you're not making the most money, it's kind of hard. So I kind of have to pick and choose which medications I'm taking. You know, which isn't good, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do to live right, and I can't not take my insulin. You know, there's certain things I got to take to actually live, so certain things have to kind of put a back burner on. I'm trying to get that all fixed up, though, so soon I'll be right as rain with all my health and medication. Anyway, guys, yeah, if you're dealing with anything out there, anything like this, I hope the video helped a bit. If you ever need to talk to somebody, you don't have somebody in your life, like I said, I'm always here. You can shoot me a message on Facebook, leave a comment on here, direct message me on my Facebook. Opossum, I got one under Opossum, OPOSSOM, or you can look up Chris O'Neill as my personal Facebook, and hit me up on there. Again, always got to plug my company, Opossum's Devil Fruits and Smoothies and Snacks, is going to be starting up soon. You guys will see flyers and things for it all over town. I'm going to put out business cards and just everything. So at the start off, it's only going to be, I guess, northwest, northeast. I don't know the way this city is. Everything says northwest when you look it up. But it's Clearview area, so that whole, I guess, top part of the map is where I'm going to be starting, because that's the area that I live in. So I'm going to start out in that area. So you guys will see me around soon. I love you guys. Take it easy. Have a good rest of your day. Bless. Is anyone doing religion stuff today? Hope your God looks out for you and gives you everything you need in life, takes care of your family, and protects you all. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Blaze, be like a season. Don't fear anything, not death, not life. Come and go as you please. Live your life. I'll see y'all in the next video. Cheers, guys.